让我们来邀请最后一位报告的今天的报告专家，是何田浩先生。Let me brief introduction. 何田浩博士是来自日本东京国立博物馆学艺研究部保护科学科科长，日本文化财保护修复学会及日本展示学会理事，京都大学文化地域环境学硕士，筑波大学世界文化遗产学博士，曾访学于南开大学汉语言文学专业。So unless you can speak Chinese, communicate with you in Chinese, so you can ask question in Chinese. 主要研究方向为博物馆环境监测、馆藏文物的环境管理与保护，以及文物包装与运输研究。近年来，他的研究在研究文物材料在运输中对振动的响应和累积疲劳的关系，以及数字技术在博物馆当中的应用。
大家听到我的声音吗？好的。晚上好，我是来自日本东京国立博物馆的，我的中文名字是何田浩。可是不好意思，今天我用英文讲一下，请了解一下。Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. First of all, it is a great honor to be invited to this wonderful international conference. I would like to express my appreciation to everyone involved in organizing this conference. Today, my presentation will not focus on specific individual topics. As a museum in a disaster-prone country like Japan, I would like to share my thoughts on how we should approach earthquake countermeasures moving forward. I aim to organize these ideas and explore the topic from a broader perspective. I have identified 3 keywords that I believe are crucial: experience, experiment, and estimation. Interestingly, all those 3 words begin with the letter E, making them quite memorable, don't you? I intentionally choose them this way. Experience refers to learning from the past history. Experiment involves observing phenomena as they occur in reality. Estimation means simulating and predicting future outcomes. Okay.
Translation.
Oh, really? So I refer to say the experience refers to learning from the past history. Experiment involved observing phenomena as they occur in reality.
So she will present in Japanese and we can see the English.
Estimation means simulating and predicting future outcomes. Okay. Today, I would like to share what I have learned from my experiences. What we can learn from past history is how earthquakes have impacted museums. By studying past damage, we can take steps to stop the same problems from happening again. This information is very helpful for creating strong prevention plans. Let's look at the damage caused by the Great Kanto earthquake, which occurred nearly 100 years ago. This is the damage experienced by the Tokyo National Museum, where I work. My museum also has a history of being affected by earthquakes. Moving forward in time, let's look at the damage caused by the 1995 Thousand Hyogo Prefecture earthquake. This event also impacted museums. In storage areas, objects fell from shelves, while in exhibition rooms, display cases toppled over, and glass shattered. Since this earthquake occurred in an urban area, many museums were affected. Okay. The 2011 Great East Japan earthquake was one of the largest earthquakes in Japan's history. In addition to the earthquake itself, the cultural heritage damaged by the resulting tsunami was severely affected. Even now, more than 10 years later, many of the cultural assets impacted by the tsunami are still undergoing restoration and treatment. After 2011 earthquake, I was involved in activities in Iwate Prefecture, one of the affected areas. This image shows an elementary school building named Oide Elementary School. Because it was an area with few children, the elementary school had closed before the earthquake, and the children had already started attending another school. Only the school building remained. It means that the entire building was empty. This school building became a temporary shelter for damaged cultural properties. I will now introduce the activities carried out there. Rikuzen Takata City, being a coastal city, experienced severe tsunami damage, and most of the urban area was affected. The pink area on this map, just a moment, indicates the region where the tsunami reached. It clearly shows that a large area was affected by the disaster. The Rikuzen Takata City Museum was located at the area marked by the red circle. Since the museum was located near the sea, it experienced very severe damage, as shown here. The elementary school mentioned earlier is located in the upper left of the map. Since it was a mountainous area, it was safe. We relocated the collections from several museum facilities in Rikuzen Takata City to this school. This table is a list of objects held by the Rikuzen Takata City Museum. As a comprehensive museum, it preserved objects from a wide variety of fields. These are the objects of other facilities in the city that were also damaged. After the tsunami, not all of the collections could be found. Mainly, the collections from these three facilities were relocated. The elementary school has both a school building and a gymnasium. The orange area is prefab house built after the rescue. And this is how it is shown in the floor plan. The school building has 2 stories with several classrooms. In Japan, elementary schools are typically well equipped with classrooms designed for a specific purpose. It is common to have a classroom for each grade level. In Japan, students attend elementary school for 6 years. However, because of the small number of children in these countryside areas, it seems that several grades were taught in the same classroom. I don't know for sure, but perhaps there were no first and third year students in the school at the time. Using the classroom layout shown here, we organized the environment for the temporary storage location. The curator, Mr. Kumagai, was the only one who survived. The first visit to the school building by the rescue committee from the Tokyo National Museum was on June 7, 2011. This showed the condition of the school entrance and the second floor library at that time. The person working in the upper right corner is Mr. Kumagai. According to Mr. Kumagai, they laid out blue tarps in each classroom and repeated the process of moving the objects inside. Despite such a difficult situation, they predicted the steps that would follow and roughly classified the objects based on their structure and material. It was very hard work. A part of the gymnasium was still used as a storage area for emergency goods, such as food and medicine. The museum objects were then carried into the few available spaces. Even under such severe circumstances, they systematically proceeded with stabilization treatment in cooperation with the Iwate Prefectural Museum under the policy, what can be done locally can be done locally. Stabilization treatment here means the process of preventing further deterioration of the damaged objects and making them suitable for long-term storage. This is the situation when, in July, researchers from the Tokyo National Museum arrived on site and became actively involved in the efforts. The storage situation remained almost the same as in June. Some of the stabilization treatment for the object continued as before, but mold began to develop throughout the school building. As a result, some of the people working there started showing allergic reactions. The entire school building was contaminated with mold, and specific measures were needed to create a clean space and prevent recontamination of objects already treated. We carefully considered the entire situation and came up with a plan: a clean space, a clean room, and a clean environment for the objects to be treated. This showed the condition of various areas on the first floor of the school building. This is a second floor. While assessing the overall situation, we measured the size of the space, created an accurate floor plan, and quickly developed a restoration plan. The issue was to find a way to organize these objects, which were already stored to their limits in the school building, and to find ways to make more space for them. In addition, A restoration plan had to be developed to ensure that the entire school building was clean and safe for continuing use. We created a plan for the future use of the entire school building space. We began by moving the object to a different facility. In other words, we choose to move some of the objects to an outside facility to be stored in the freezer or to be stabilized in an outside facility. Meanwhile, we would also organize the collection while continuing the stabilization treatment inside the school building. Moving the collections to an outside facility created space inside the school building and provided a temporary escape for the objects. This had a huge immediate impact. Once the space was created, we disinfected and cleaned the space. Next, storage shelves were installed to increase storage capacity. We also fumigated the collection. Going forward, if we separate the workspace for the stabilization treatment from the object storage area, we will be able to create a relatively stable preservation environment in this school building. Looking back at this process, the important points are the areas marked in red. First aid, freezer, disinfection and cleaning, fumigation, and storage shelves. These were extremely effective in the achievement of overall environmental improvement. Here, I would like to introduce some of the environmental improvement work at the school building. This involves organizing the second floor space of the school building and completing the disinfection and cleaning steps. At that time, most of the objects that were in the corridor were moved to external freezers. The objects from the art room were moved into the new empty space. From here, the shelves were moved to the library. The objects from the 5th and 6th grade classrooms were then moved into that space. The objects from the corridor were then moved. Shelves were placed in the newly created space. The objects from the PC room were stored in these shelves. As a result, 5 classrooms on the second floor became empty. 5 classrooms were then disinfected and cleaned. The objects and shelves were moved to a clean space. And the disinfection and cleaning of corridor was also completed. The final cleaning was finished on September 29, 2011. While these environmental improvements were in progress, restoration technicians for hanging scrolls, calligraphy, metalwork, ceramics, and textiles were doing pre-surveys for stabilization treatment. A temporary clean storage space was created and the plan was adjusted to include the next year's work. Because the situation was constantly changing, it was often necessary to adjust the plan to fit the situation each time. After discussion, it was decided to use the second floor as a storage and the first floor as workspace for the stabilization process. The art room was here, left as a fumigation room. In addition, the library was remodeled significantly to create a storage room for the fragile objects. We believe we were able to create such an accurate plan because we created an accurate floor plan in early July. Based on this plan, in 2012, the facilities were upgraded as shown on the screen. In addition to those shown, dark curtains, air conditioners, and dehumidifiers were installed in each classroom, and a large ultrasonic cleaner was installed for cleaning operation. This advancement in facilities can be said to be the result of a continuous stabilization treatment and systematic zoning. Because of the continued activity, we were able to identify the next necessary step. In fact, the chlorination of objects was carried out in 2012 as a part of the stabilization treatment in the school building. Some of the objects were moved to the Iwate Prefecture Museum to freeze dry and then returned to the school building after finishing the process. This workflow was successfully established. In this process, the Tokyo National Museum was responsible for creating the environmental management system. This included planning for biological surveys and airborne pollutant investigations to be carried out in the following years. In addition to environmental-related work, textile and lacquerware were also surveyed, and specifications for stabilization treatment were developed. This is a comparison of condition of the second floor storage area after going through these processes. On the left is the situation from June 2011, and on the right is the situation from March 2013. I believe the results of the environmental improvements are clearly reflected in the changes shown. By continuing to measure the environment in these conditions, monitoring the results, and evaluating them, the process of identifying and improving any issues will be repeated. The goal is to achieve a higher level of storage environment. This became the basis for our plans and goals for 2013 and beyond. Now let me move on to the summary. After rescuing the object from the disaster site, it is of primary importance to obtain a temporary storage location. The environmental improvement of the space and the establishment of a stabilization treatment system for the object are closely related. They must be considered as one integrated process and require careful planning. In this environmental improvement work, the freezers played a particularly significant role. The installation of large freezers make it possible to preserve large quantities of objects while minimizing the progress of deterioration. As a result, everything can now be planned. In addition, disinfection and cleaning and fumigation have made it possible to provide a clean space and clean objects. A system was established to operate the storage space according to the characteristics of the objects and their condition. The installation of storage shelves created a new space and had a positive impact on the overall plan. The early establishment of the stabilization treatment system, the control of deterioration through frozen storage, the establishment of clean space, and the improvement of storage efficiency. These factors contributed to the overall improvement of the conservation environment. Finally, I want to emphasize an important point. We support the disaster-affected areas, but we cannot stay there permanently. The transfer of technology to the local people is extremely important. Another important part of our mission is to help the local communities continue their daily work of cultural heritage protection after we leave. It would be very sad if nothing is left after the experts have left. The goal should be for local people who have cultural heritage to work on cultural heritage preservation on their own. That is a vision we should aim for. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Wada. It's a very
Thank you.
special case.